Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3:00 p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep.
What company do you keep? Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it.
We're having some internet difficulties today, so we're just going to make it do what it do and not stress out. So those of you who are on my social media feed, I would greatly appreciate it if you could log into listenvisionlive.com, because I think we're going to get kicked off the internet, and so I want to make sure that you can at least enjoy the show by tuning in to listenvisionlive.com. Well, happy Sunday, everybody. As you can see, I am solo today, and that's okay. I'm going to get through it, but hopefully with your help, because I'm going to need you all to call in and participate in the conversation today. So not only do I need you to go to listenvisionlive.com, I also need you to call into the studio and keep me company at 833-202-8255. Today, what I decided to do, since I'm by myself, is I am going to talk about a few categories. Sherelle is away. She's a soccer mom, and my nephew, he plays travel soccer. So they're somewhere in North Carolina getting ready for his game, and so that's how good they are. And so we're just going to pray that they have success today and that Jalen's team, I think it's called Courage, wins today. And so, again, I need you to call in and participate with me if you don't mind. The number is 833-202-8255. So the scripture for today is Colossians 3:14. But above all these things, put on love, which is the bond of perfection. Let me read that again. But above all things, these things, put on love, which is the bond of perfection. And the reason I wanted to start with that is just, it just kind of makes sense, right? We know that love can outshine hate. We already know how to eradicate hate. We already know how to eradicate problems by showing each other love. And so I wanted to start with talking about the legacy of love. And so I'm going to break this down about legacy and ask each of us, what type of legacy are we leaving to this earth? What type of legacy are we leaving to future generations? I heard the other day and read actually an article that scientists are saying, look, humans, we have about 12 years to get our acts together on this earth, right? And so what do they mean by that? They're talking about climate change, the way that we recycle, just all the stuff that we have that's really, really polluting our earth and doing real damage to the earth. And so when you read further into that article, what it was talking about was humans. You won't be able to survive. However, the earth is going to do what it's always done because it's always been here. It's going to replenish itself. But we as human beings will not be able to survive it. So we have to make some changes in our behavior. And I think that those changes need to be rooted in the love of future generations, because many of us have children, nieces and nephews who've come behind us. And so that Generation Z and then the next generation, what are we doing to show them some love in terms of how we're taking care of this environment? And I didn't always get it, but it was something about that just stuck with me, because I thought to myself, 12 years, wow, that is really not a long time. So I'm not sure what's going to happen to us as human beings, but they were very serious. It was a collective intelligence that said this. So let's show our future generations and our environment some love by doing all the things that we need to do to help take care of it. And so that's the legacy of love I'm talking about. Another legacy of love that I'm talking about is for the last 3 weeks or last 2 weeks, I've been to 3 funerals. And the common theme that ran through those 3 funerals were love, live, learn, right? Love, live, learn, teach. And so the love thing just kind of stuck out with me because all of the women, and these were women, 2 older women and then a younger woman, and I'm going to talk about that one in a few minutes. They left a legacy of love, and that love is demonstrated in the eulogy. It was demonstrated in the people that got up and spoke about them, and the things that they left behind so that future generations could have a legacy. And so let's really be mindful of legacy. Let me talk to you about the funeral that I went to yesterday. Most of you that follow me, if you've paid attention, a good friend of ours, Trudy Caldwell, she was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer over 3 years ago, and that was her first diagnosis. Originally, they kept telling her that I think she had pneumonia or something like that, and when it was all said and done, it was not pneumonia or bronchitis or anything like that. It was stage 4 lung cancer. And at the time, Trudy had to be about 47, 48 years old. And I can tell you one thing, before she had the diagnosis, she always showed love. She was kind. She showed love. She was just a joy to be around. And in her sickness, in her illness, she demonstrated that same level of love. I remember so many of our private conversations where she just didn't want people to know that she was sick. And guess what? So many people that came to her funeral yesterday, they had just recently found out that she had been sick. Because when they saw Trudy, she was loving, she was kind, she was giving, she was traveling. She did not let the sickness or the illness take control of her and beat her down. And as her good friend Deirdre talked about yesterday, I never thought about it, she had never been in a hospital until her last few days. So she showed love, she showed strength, courage. As I shared with them yesterday, she was just first class all the way in everything that she did. And to me, it just left an impact on, we have a choice, right? We have a choice while we're not sick to demonstrate the type of love and the type of courage and the type of brilliance and legacy that she intentionally set out to live. And I just got a message that the connection on Listen Vision Live is still not good, but y'all just hang in there. We're just going to go on through with the show. If you can see me and hear me on social media, that's fine. If not, we'll make sure that it's posted on YouTube and I'll share it out later. But thank you. Just hang in there. Hopefully the internet will bring itself back up today. But I wanted to talk about her legacy of love and her legacy of teaching and her legacy of living. There were so many people who spoke about how, she was involved with the youth. She started a foundation, the Hill Caldwell Scholarship Endowment. She started, which is going to really, really help, make sure that some other student, some other child will have the opportunity to go to college. And she made sure that she reached back to her home community in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to make sure that community knew that she loved them. And although she went to high school there and left and went and did great things in the military and in life, she never forgot about them. And it just really, really struck me. And I said, wow, how powerful is that she was intentional. And guess what? She was doing this quietly while she was battling her own illness. So she wasn't selfish in her living. And so we have to learn not to be selfish in our living. And let me talk about something else. I had a conversation with a wonderful woman yesterday that was having a hard time dealing with Trudy's death. And we started talking about, how we're living. And I just happened to say to her, I'm not afraid of death because it is going to happen. I don't know when or where, but that's one thing we can say that's absolute in all of our lives, that it's going to happen. And she looked at me and she said, I've been struggling with that. I've been struggling with it. I don't like to talk about death. I don't like to talk with my husband about it. She said, but you really, really just gave me different perspective. She said, it's not if, it's when. I said, absolutely. There is no if to the conversation. It is when. So hold on. I think I have a call coming through, and I don't know why she's calling on my mobile phone, and because I know I'm connected to listen to my call-in studio. Let me just double check. But it's not about if, it's when. And that's how Trudy lived her life. And she never complained about her pain. She would say, well, let me just have a little bit of rest. Let me rest so I can just get myself together. And so that was her legacy. Her legacy was her friendships, right? She was not married. She wasn't married. She didn't birth any children, but her legacy was making sure that she could reach back and help the young divas, as they're called, some young ladies that she worked with, to make sure that they were very confident in who they were, that they were going to school, that they can reach out to her to get support from her. That was her legacy. Her legacy was a friendship and family. Her family was there. She loved her family. And as my husband said, as he eulogized her yesterday, is that one of the things about Trudy is that she was not a friend. She was family. And once you got to know her, she always treated you as such. So that was just awesome to me. And so that's what I would want us to do. I want us to really think about intentionally what legacy we're leaving. And if you want to call in and participate to keep me company today, you can call into 833-202-8255. 833-202-8255. So that was one conversation about, the lady said, well, thank you for that, because it was perspective. It's not if, it's when. And so I need to start having those conversations so that I can plan for how I want to live my life. And so then I had a conversation with another friend yesterday around Trudy's death, because believe it or not, it's just, you're in disbelief because of the type of person she was. And so, God is in control. He knows better than any of us what's needed and what we need. But because what I realized in that moment, listening and being a part of her life, is that she finished the work that God had assigned to her. She did everything that he asked her to do. And so because she did everything that he asked her to do, it was just his time to bring her home so she can finish the work in heaven that he needs her to do. But also, I was talking to another friend, and she said, I was thinking about Trudy and how Trudy, she was just doing so much. And she said, I do a lot. She said, but I don't share that with people. And I said, well, why not? She said, because when I was younger, I was good in athletics. I was academically inclined, and my friends in my neighborhood, they would always tease me. And so when they would tease me, I just kind of shut down and stopped letting my light shine. And I said, well, I can understand that, because a lot of people are, feel that way. But guess what? We call that survivor's remorse, right? How many of us have survivor's remorse where we're doing so many great things, but then you have family and friends that want to tear you down and make you think that what you're doing is not worthy, or what you're doing is that you're just showboating, and then what you do is you dim your light. And so she and I had a conversation about, don't dim your light for people who can't support you, and be happy for the things that you're doing. Because I truly believe that the things that we do in life is not about us. It's about encouraging someone else to live their best life, right? Live your best life. And if you're not sharing, there's somebody looking at you that can't glean from you that hope that they may need at that point. And she said, well, I'm going to work on that. She said, it's hard. And I said, I understand it's hard, but you have to do what God has shown you to do. The gifts that he's giving you, share it with the world so that the next person can be encouraged, have some motivation from watching you from afar or watching you up close. And so where are you in life? Where are you in life? And I know someone was trying to call in, and you can still call in to 833-202-8255 and share your comments on that. So live your best life. And I know that that could be a cliche, but it really is not a cliche, because you only have one life to live. Why not live your best life? Right? Then I was talking to another lady, and I was telling her about my conference. And I have to mention my conference. And my conference is Woman Thou Art Great. It's the 4th annual Woman Thou Art Great Women Sharpening Women Conference. And the theme is unapologetically great. And I can just jump for joy about that theme, about being unapologetically great and not having that survivor's remorse, right? And making sure that God created you to be great. Why are we trying to hide our greatness? And I'm not talking about, showboating and not wanting to help other people and being conceited. I'm talking about sharing with people what it took for you to get to your greatness. Right, because we all have a story. All have a story. And I was looking at some social media feed today around First Lady Michelle Obama. And they were saying that the event last night, her becoming event, was so phenomenal that she said something about everybody has a story, and the worst thing you can do is not share your story, not put it in print, and not share it with someone. And I am of the mindset that is the truth, right? I believe that, because people always say, well, I don't want anybody to know my business. And I'm like, well, how are you going to help someone if they don't know, what you've gone through and what it's taken for you to get there? Yeah, I think you have to be careful with who you share things with, but who are you motivating? Who are you sharing your story with? Because there are so many people who feel like they're alone out here, that they're out here by themselves and they have no hope. And we're their hope. We can be their hope. And so I said all that to say is that we really need to leave our legacy. And when I invite people on my show, when my sister and I invite people on the show, we want people to come on the show that's going to motivate and encourage and share something with people that's going to get people moving, right? Because life can be short. Life is also can be longer than you think. And what are you going to do? I've been to one funeral in my life that there were only about 10 people at the funeral. That really shook me to the core, because one of the things, and this wasn't an old person, and one of the things that struck me, because in the Black church particularly, when your loved one dies and you have a wide network of family and friends, the church is packed on your funeral, right? But when I saw that really signaled to me that there was something going on perhaps in that person's life, that they didn't necessarily make those good connections. They didn't have those relationships. And life is about relationship. We are on earth as people to be here for each other. That's just it. And if we're not making the connection and showing our greatness and being, saying thank you and showing some appreciation and some empathy for people, then what are we here for? I just, I struggle with that. And I don't struggle with it from my perspective, but I struggle with it when I hear people say that. And so from this perspective of legacy, what is going to be your legacy? What is going to be your legacy when you leave here? Period. And we all have a choice, and we have to decide how we're going to finish this race, right? And so if you want to call in to 833-202-8255. And so before I move on to the next topic, I want to again talk about my 4th annual Woman Thou Art Great Women Sharpening Women Conference. And the theme is unapologetically great. We had to move the location to the Colony South Hotel and Conference Center in Clinton. And that's just a long story, but it's going to be all good. It's going to be phenomenal there. And you can still get your early bird tickets up until December the 1st. At the wonderful price of $99. And all of you that have been there, all of you've heard about it, everything you've heard about it is true, because it is a great conference. And someone also said to me one time, well, you really shouldn't promote your own things. I was like, well, the devil is a liar. If I don't promote it, who's going to promote it? It is my event, right? And so people, this is what I'm talking about. People dim their light because they're so concerned about what other people have to say about what you're doing when you're trying to do something good for other people. You're trying to encourage people. Why dim your light because somebody doesn't want you to promote your own event? So I'm promoting my own event like I always do. And so it is great. And it is phenomenal. It is different because we really have some real talk. We really make some real connections. And it's all rooted in who we are as the children of God. Don't even get it confused. But also we bring in other aspects because God made each and every one of us the way that we are. And that we were born into greatness, right? He was great. So we're born into greatness if that's what you believe. And I just so happen to believe it. And so we're going to have my sister Sherelle, of course. She's our outstanding MC, but she's going to speak to us this year. So I'm telling you all, I have no idea what she's going to say because I never ask my speakers what they're going to say. But what I do ask is for them to focus on the theme. And so you already know she's a powerhouse and it's going to be phenomenal. And then we have the phenomenal Candace Camille. She tags herself as the wellologist. And if you know anything about Candace Camille, she is the plank queen. You can see her on Dr. Oz planking. You can see her in the airport in her suit and her stilettos, on the airplane planking. You can see her in the grocery store planking. She's amazing, and she really wants to talk with us about our overall health in terms of how it connects to being great. And of course, we could not have this conference without the incomparable Miss Bobby Swan. Miss Bobby Swan is our matriarch, our senior lady on the team who comes and imparts to us as women as we continue to grow into womanhood. And so Miss Bobby, I always tease, I know Miss Bobby got to be about 5'1", 5'2", and wear her stilettos, and she is the truth. And she's going to speak the truth. And we always walk away with some phenomenal nuggets from Miss Bobby. We also have the beautiful, and this is going to be her first time participating, Pam Ward. Pam Ward is the lead singer for the Let It Flow band. You all know the Let It Flow band. They are phenomenal. They hail from here, from DC. So she's going to come and bless us in song. And of course, Margot Gross. Pastor Margot Gross, who keeps it real. She's dynamic. Her word is empowering, and she's just always on fire. And so we always got to have a word, and so she's going to come and talk to us about that. And I'm really, really excited about this lady. If you all don't know who she is, you better Google her. Her name is Sylvia Austin. Sylvia Austin is the cousin of Karen Hunter on the Karen Hunter show that comes on Urban View 126 every day at 3 o'clock. And so she is a Morgan State graduate. She's always in the DC area. She actually has her own show on Sundays at 12 o'clock. And so she's phenomenal. She has a story for you. She hails from New Jersey, so all you Jersey people that listen, check her out because she's phenomenal. And of course, we could not have this conversation or have the show without our two millennials. These two young ladies, I am so proud of them. Of course, one is my stepdaughter, Alyssa, and her good girlfriend, Nakia. And I've watched, of course, Alyssa grow from the age of 2 to 3 years old into a dynamic 26-year-old woman. And her girlfriend, Nakia, she met at Howard University. And I've just watched them grow into these dynamic women. And they're going to come and they're going to talk to us about being unapologetically great, you know, and how they're working to get there as millennials and what they need from us to help them in their growth and in the process. And of course, we always got to have a fitness guru, and she's been with me since day one, and that is my beautiful soror, Candy, Honey Lamb. Honey Lamb, you all just need to know, she keeps us rocking and rolling at the conference, and it's so much fun. But she is dynamic. She's a fitness educator, and we're always going to make sure that we have a little bit of fitness there, because that's just how we can stay healthy, right? And when we talk about being unapologetically great, we have to be healthy as we pursue that greatness. And finally, we have our commissioned artist, Ruth White. Ruth White is my husband's first cousin. She is so gifted and talented. And so every year I surprise 3 women in the audience by having Ruth to paint a portrait of them in their likeness. And it's always a surprise. Not even my committee members know. My quality assurance team knows who these women are. And so what I do is I have a star honoree, a diamond honoree, and a pearl honoree, because that is the logo on my business logo, the Dr. Sharon D. Cradle Corporation business logo. And so, and this year we're going to have a bonus portrait of a 4th person. And so you all don't want to miss it. And I just would be remiss if I did not say that I could not do what I do without the quality assurance team. These women are so phenomenal. That's Dr. Marcia Cradle. That's my sister-in-law. That's Dr. Yvonne Colo. That's my sister Sherelle, and my sister Cynthia Barnaby. And Cynthia Barnaby, most of you all won't know because she's not on social media, and she's just in the background. She's quiet, but let me tell you something about a quiet storm. She's a quiet storm, and she makes sure that everything that I do is straight. We could call her our drill sergeant, and I absolutely need someone like that in my life, because when you are doing so much, you can make errors, right? And so we're going to always try to present ourselves in excellence. And so we need somebody like Cynthia to be there. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, your early bird tickets, get those early bird tickets by December the 1st so that you won't miss out on it. And so right now the tickets are selling well. Everything is going well because we've been doing it for the last 3 years. So we're almost pros at what we do. And so we just want to still make sure that we're bringing you a quality event. So what we're going to do is take a short break. And when we come back, I want to transition and continue this conversation. See you shortly. Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show, hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle, and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3:00 p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep.
What company do you keep? Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it. Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show, hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle, and Sherelle Higgins. We
will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep.
What company do you keep? Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it. Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents. We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you all for your patience. You know, technology is only as good as technology is when it works well. So we're going to keep the flow going. And we talked about legacy. So really, I just think that's so important. We really need to think about what our legacy is going to be as it comes to love and teaching and learning and friendship and family. Now, I want to transition into politics, but I want to transition into politics from a different perspective. I don't know how many of you all watch the Red Table Talk. That's Jada Pinkett's program that she has on Facebook. And I don't get to watch it often, but I do try to go back and watch it so I can support her. Because, you know, women, we just got to support each other. So I do go back and watch it. And this last episode that I saw was so phenomenal. It spoke to my spirit. And she was talking about, you know, why is it that it seems that it is, and it's a fact because the data proves it, that white women and black women are not on the same page politically. Why is it that white women and black women aren't on the same page politically? And you're talking about such a profound conversation. And so they had the conversation amongst themselves, and so they talked about it from a generational perspective. So you have Jada Pinkett, of course, then you have her daughter who's young, I think a young adult, and then Jada's mom. So they started the talk off, and generationally, because of experience, when they grew up, where they grew up, it was just deep. So Jada's mom was talking about, you know, it's just something she just can't get over, you know, in terms of being called the N-word, you know, just not being respected as a black woman, you know, just things that happened to her when she was growing up in the Baltimore area. And then you have Jada, who and by the way, the grandmother, Jada's grandmother, you know, would say to them, you know, don't bring white people home, you know, meaning you can, you know, have a relationship with white people outside the house, but in terms of marrying and all that, don't bring them home. So what's so interesting about that is that Jada has dated all kinds of nationalities or races of men. And I want to talk about race because it's a human race. We're talking about skin color, you know, so ethnic backgrounds of men, and which is very interesting. In their family, you know, I think a female may have married a white man, and then maybe one of the men married a white female. So they have those, you know, the different nationalities or ethnic backgrounds in their family. And so they had that conversation. Of course, the young daughter comes from a different perspective because she has lived in a more diverse world. She's had more experience. And so then they bring on one of the white females that work there, and that was when it really got interesting. And listening to her, you could tell she was nervous, but she wanted to speak her truth. And she said, I don't really understand what you're talking about. She said, I want to know what I can do to help you. And Jada's mom was like, it's really nothing you can do to help me, because this is how I feel, and it's some things that I got to be able to work through when it comes to white women, right? And so they were just trying to have a conversation of what that meant for them. So for the after show, the white lady came back and she said, you all talked about white privilege. She said, I literally had no idea what you meant when you talked about white privilege. She said, but when I walked away and I just started reflecting, she said, I get it. I think what you're saying is, I have white privilege as a woman, a white female, because I don't have to deal with the stuff you deal with. And that was it. You talking about just an aha moment. And it brought, I believe it brought Jada to tears, because that was the first time that somebody that she was talking to of the, with a different ethnic background would say, I get it. I don't deal with what you have to deal with because of the color of my skin. Right. And so that is why we as women, we are so powerful together. Right? Because one of the things about women, we share a lot of the same experiences as women. Right? So we should be able to understand each other regardless to the color of our skin. And so we have to make it a priority to have that red table talk, or to have that talk with someone that looks different than us, that comes from a different perspective, and go into the conversation listening. Not trying to tell people what they should think, how they ought to think, but sharing your perspective and your experiences. And the goal is hopefully that they learn a little bit more about you and you learn a little bit more about them, so that we can be more tolerant with each other, and that we don't have to look at each other and feel some kind of way because we're like, well, why don't you get it? Why don't you get it? Well, some people don't get it because they haven't experienced it. Some people can read books all day long and just don't get it. Some people live in their boxes and they just don't get it, right? And so we have to, try to open ourselves to hear what other people have to say in a respectful manner and in an intelligent manner, without pointing fingers, because all of us, this land is hurting. This land is hurting, and we are here. We're the people that's making it hurt, right? And so we have to heal the land. It's our responsibility. And our responsibility is not to listen to the political rhetoric that's going on out here, because we know better. We know that love will dim hate and eradicate hate. We already know that. So we can't get sucked in to our behavior and our thinking around hate and hating, being pitted against each other. Right? Like we're yo-yos. We know better. We know how to treat each other. And so we as women particularly, we have got to find that common ground, because we have more in common than we don't. Right? And it doesn't matter the color of your skin. It just doesn't. And so we don't know why people vote the way they vote. And I can't be concerned with that. But what I can be concerned with is how I'm going to treat you, what I'm going to choose to believe. And that's just the bottom line. And we are intelligent enough to know right from wrong. We understand. We know when it's right. We know when it's wrong. And just because someone says something doesn't make it so. And we don't have to get on these bandwagons, and we have to stop thinking about just ourselves. We have to think about the greater good. Remember I talked about the legacy? We got to think about the greater good of the human race. The greater good of the human race, just, instead of just our little 2-block radius. And so, I just thought that was an interesting conversation. And so if you haven't seen that, and no, they don't pay me to promote their shows, but I like to look at and listen to shows that are empowering, that are intricate, that have some depth to it, versus just listening to anything and people are talking loud saying nothing, and so because I'm trying to grow. And remember, I told you all my goal at the beginning of this year, one of my goals was to get outside of my feelings and my mind and hear what other people are saying, even if it's way extreme from what I believe, because at least now that I hear what you said, I can take that information and do something with it for my life, or not do something with it. And so that was my goal, and it really has worked out well. It hasn't been comfortable always. I had a conversation with a group of people a couple weeks ago, and I ended up facilitating that conversation because it really could have gotten ugly because the emotions were high. People were saying things that they wanted to say, but it was always right there on the line, right? You know, it was right there at that surface. And it just took that one thing for the conversation to become full blown. And it was healing in a way to hear people really say what they were thinking and what they were feeling without attacking each other. Of course, they tried to go there in some respects. And so I had to bring them back to listening to each other. Right. And at the end of the day, and these were black people and white people. And at the end of the conversation, there were some hugs, there were some tears, and there was a little bit more understanding, right? Because people are feeling some kind of way in this political climate that we're in, and it's rearing its ugly head in a multitude of environments. And so we have got to learn to listen to each other and just try to understand. And I'm not talking about hate speech and all that stuff. I'm talking about people who really want to know, who really are interested in understanding and perhaps changing their perspective or their attitude about certain things that are happening about each other. And so I thought that was awesome. So what does that require? That requires us to self-examine who we are. Again, you know, I believe it or not, I do a lot of talking to people because I know that's one of my gifts. I'm very clear about that. People just open up and tell me things, and because they feel safe. And one lady told me, was talking about this political environment. She said, people are so sensitive. And she said it very sarcastically. And I said, well, yes, people are sensitive. I said, because, and they should be, because words matter. Words matter. I said, we have to watch our words, right? I said, think about some things that have happened to you or people said to you as a young person, or even in your adulthood, that those words you can still remember. Those words, they stung, they stopped you in your tracks from doing something you knew was the right thing to do. So words matter. And you've heard me talk about this before on the show. I challenge every one of us to listen to the words that we project, the words that we say to each other, right? If we're not lifting each other up, if we're not able to have a difficult conversation without making it personal. You know, when I teach leadership, I was teaching one of my leadership programs last week, and I talked to them about our communication. Communication is two-way. It is not one way. And if you're dominating the conversation, if you're berating somebody, that's not a two-way conversation. It's not successful. And what are you doing? What's your end goal in the conversation? And we have to learn how to not point fingers at people if you want people to listen, because we've all fallen short. Trust and believe. There is no one perfect on this earth. And so we've all fallen short. So let's practice, you know, how we communicate with each other. Yes, we have to have difficult conversations, but they don't have to go personal where you're uncomfortable with what I said, so now you start attacking me, right? Or you start calling me out my name or something like that, or it's calling somebody out of their names. It's not productive, it's not effective, and it's just not good. I was talking to a young man yesterday as we were going through the repast, and we were talking about my girlfriend Trudy, back to her about, and I said, you know, it was just love. He was like, all those people were at her funeral. I was like, yeah, it's about love. And he said, it's difficult to find love in DC. I said, what? I said, well, are you showing love? I said, because if you're showing love, there's somebody out here I already know that's willing to accept your love. So the love starts with you. And I just thought that was profound. And so it's how we communicate. Do we show love in our communication, regardless to how difficult the conversation has to be. And so let's make sure that we're doing some self-examination versus looking at other people, because words matter and people do have a right to be sensitive about the things that you're saying to them, right? And then look at your legacy, look at your children, look at the people that hang around you. People are always watching you, and people are looking for that light, that glimpse of hope so that they can do better. A girlfriend told me the other day, and I haven't said this to her, I always ask her to do stuff, because I already know that she is gifted and talented in areas that I ask her to do it in. And she said, you have a way of bringing people out. I said, well, to me, that's a compliment. Bringing people out. I'm not concerned about, jealous about what somebody else have going on. I'm only in my lane, and my lane is to try to help bring someone else out. And so let's watch what we say. Let's encourage people. I had a girlfriend to tell me not too long ago, and so I'm not telling you something that I've heard. I'm telling you something I experienced. Had a girlfriend, I said something to her that I thought was a compliment, and I hope she's listening. I thought it was a compliment. And later on, she and I were talking, and she said, what you said to me yesterday, I didn't really like it. She said, because, she went on to explain. And so I believe that most people would have reacted a little differently than what I reacted. I try to practice what I preach. I really do. So what I said to her was, thank you for telling me, because I had no idea. So I apologize for not being clear in terms of what I intended to communicate. Because see, communication, it was my responsibility to make sure she understood what my intent was. And when she didn't understand, I had to clarify, but I apologized first. And I'm going to tell you something. It matters, because a lot of people probably would have walked away in their feelings. But guess what? The relationship is so important to me. I had to hear what she said, and no, it didn't hurt my feelings, because I'm just talking. I'm just talking. And so I know that my intentions were not bad in the compliment that I gave her. But when she said it, I told her, I said, thank you for telling me. And I apologize. And we started talking about it at a deeper level, right? And so that's what I'm talking about when I talk about our words matter. People do have a right to be sensitive about the stuff we say to each other. Let's be mindful of that. Be mindful. And the final thing I want to say about that, and I say this to my husband, and I say this to my family members, people are dying every day, and it may be one of us, because tomorrow surely is not promised to any of us. And the last thing I want to do, if my husband precedes me in death, and I'm sitting there looking at that casket, and the last conversation I had with him was something that I said ugly to him, or he said ugly to me, and that's all that's rolling through my mind, because now I don't have an opportunity to apologize or to, change my behavior, change my words. That's pretty deep. That's how I look at it. And so I'm so serious about that I'm thinking about it from a deeper perspective. So let's be conscientious of what we're saying and take our communication to a deeper level. And if we don't have the tools to, have great conversations or courageous conversations, there are lots of training opportunities out here. And so my engineer is giving me my countdown. I think I have about, 2 minutes left? And so what I want to talk about next is Thanksgiving. We are all getting ready for Thanksgiving, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And we know that Thanksgiving in America is very historical. It's about the harvest festival. It was celebrated by the Pilgrims after the first harvest in the New World. It started in October 1621. And so what we do, we share, and actually it was set up to be shared with the Native Americans, because we already know that this land was not American land. It belonged to the natives, and it was stolen from the natives, right? And so it was just a way to create, after that treaty, some harmony around what happened during that time. But we today, we celebrated with family and friends and we have great meals, and that's our time to really, really show some love. And if we know people that don't have family members in the area, please invite them to your house, because we always have plenty of food. Make it your business to donate a basket somewhere. Make it your business to go do some community service somewhere. And also make it your business and your time. Take some time to rest, because we are busy, busy, busy. So hopefully you will be able to love on one another, get some rest, do charitable work, and enjoy your family, right? Make amends with people. Reach out to people that you haven't talked to in a while. I think about people all the time that I haven't seen since 1986. And I'm like, well, what happened to these people? And I'm constantly searching on the internet to see if I can find them. So reach out to someone, hug somebody, fix it. Like my girlfriend Diane says to some of our group, right? A group of us. Go and fix that relationship. This is the time to do it. And what happens is most people don't remember even what they were fighting about. So this is what Thanksgiving is about. Thank you all for participating, for tuning in, and for continuing to support Sherelle and I. And happy Thanksgiving to you. And we will see you on next Sunday. Have a blessed day and a blessed Thanksgiving. Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle, and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3:00 p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep.
What company do you keep? Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us.